another video. I'm Chris and this is Jim and we're Midlife Travel Bug. And today we're going to tell you all about our costs, totals, travel, time in the beautiful country of Albania.
So Albania is located just north of Greece and just south of Montenegro, and it's across the Adriatic Sea from Italy. So Albania is very beautiful because it has the crystal clear Mediterranean waters and you get that amazing Riviera. To get to Albania, you can take a ferry from Corfu, Greece, which we did. You can also drive in from Montenegro, or you can fly into the capital, Tirana.
Now you can also fly into Corfu, Greece, which is what we chose to do. There is an international airport which got us really close to being able to access the south part of Albania and Sarandë. So those are some of the ways that you can get there, and some options if you are coming from different areas.
So people go to Albania because it's supposed to be the cheapest destination in Europe to go to right now, and it also has some beautiful beaches. It's a fairly new tourist destination. I would say within the last 10 years it's kind of really started to be put on everybody's radar as a place to go. So that was the intrigue for us, is that we wanted to go to a place in the summer in Europe that was more affordable, and that's why we chose Albania.
A lot of positive videos expressing that it's such a great place to come, and there's some good pros and some cons for sure, so we'll also share that with you. So we're going to talk a little bit about breaking down the time that we spent in Albania and what we did in each area and what we thought of them. Also talk about what we'd like to do differently in the future if we were to come back, or maybe recommend to others that have the idea of maybe coming and visiting this great area. We had a 28-day Airbnb in Sarandë, so we thought we'd try the slow travel and maybe slow it down a bit, take advantage of the discount on Airbnb for the month-long stays. However, it was summertime and we didn't book that far in advance, so we did find it a little harder to find what we wanted in the summertime. We still managed to find a great place, but the costs were definitely higher than we anticipated. Now, Sarandë is beautiful. They have a beautiful long promenade boardwalk along the ocean, some beaches that you could go to, lots of restaurants, lots of things to do that way, lots of little boat trips and tours that you could take around there as well.
So while we were in Sarandë, we had the chance to really tour the place. As Chris said, we're there for 28 days. So we made sure that we walked pretty much the whole city. We rented a bike a couple of the days that we were there so that we could drive around and check things out. There are things to do around there. There's lots of beach spots that you can go to. There's the castle that's close by. It's a really easy day trip to get to Ksamil, to go see the Blue Eye. So felt that there was some things for us to go and see.
Butrint as well.
Butrint Archaeological Park is there as well, which was a really cool experience.
So some of the day trips that we were able to take from Sarandë were south to Ksamil. Now Ksamil is a smaller town, more of a beach destination with lots of beach clubs, beach chairs. The water is quite beautiful with some little islands and things down there. So we thought we'd take a look. It's about a 20-minute bus ride that was south. You can also pick up a scooter like we did, and we spent the day down there as well. Beautiful area if you want to go for a beach destination. You do pay for chairs at most of the places, and if you don't have a chair that's paid for, you probably will have a hard time finding a place on the beach. We chose Sarandë to stay in for the 28 days as a home base, to have a little bit more to offer, more grocery stores, a little bit more regular life, whereas Ksamil is a little bit more of I guess mostly a beach destination too, with a smaller town.
Just about a 10-minute drive past Ksamil is the Butrint National Archaeological Park, and we spent a good day trip there, which was really cool to see all the old historic sites. We have a great video on that if you want to check that out. Then we also went to the Blue Eye, like you said.
We did, and you can either take a bus that goes up there. There's lots of tours that will take you. We opted to rent a moped scooter for the day, and for us that was just a beautiful ride. The Blue Eye was pretty special, pretty beautiful. A little more touristy than we anticipated.
Yeah.
I definitely would recommend going if you're staying in Sarandë or Ksamil. Beautiful spot.
They run day trips out of Corfu all the way to the Blue Eye as well, so they'll ferry you across.
Yeah. And then after that we headed to Gjirokastr. Now what did you think of Gjirokastr?
Gjirokastr was amazing. I think we spent 2 nights there, and we're glad we did. It's definitely more than a day trip to see everything, and you got to experience the nighttime in these small towns too, because with the cafe culture, and we ran across a festival that they were having, which
was pretty fun.
The highlight of Gjirokastr is the Gjirokastr Castle, in my opinion.
And the town itself,
the town.
It was just really special. It's some of the more natural Albanian housing and Ottoman style and
nestled right in a perfect valley in the mountains and
epic views.
Yeah.
Now you can go to Gjirokastr as a day trip from Sarandë as well. However, we watched a few vlogs and decided that we'd go spend a couple of nights, and we were glad that we did. It kind of overlapped some of our nights that we stayed in Sarandë, but we felt money well spent, because I think if we'd just gone for the day, we would have been disappointed. The last bus doesn't leave late enough, and we would have had a pretty, I would say, cramped time to see all that we saw in Gjirokastr. And Gjirokastr was probably one of the highlights for us in Albania, so yeah.
For sure. So if you do get a chance to go and you're in Sarandë, take the extra couple nights and go check out Gjirokastr. I don't think you'll be disappointed there.
So another day trip that we took, and actually we spent one overnight. We rented a car for the day this time and decided to take the ride. We stopped in a smaller town called Borsh, which is a cute little beach town with not much in the village, but the beach was pretty spectacular. Then we drove on to Himarë, which is a bigger town and a pretty cool seaside town. I really enjoyed that as well. And then we carried on to another place called Dhërmi. And that was different again, but some of the hilltop towns that we drove through were really unique. Our only sad part was we didn't have more time. We did rent a car, and we're pretty grateful that we did, to be honest, because the roads were...
Yeah, driving in Albania is not easy. It is very sketchy on some
very windy roads.
Yeah.
I was even car sick in the car, sitting in the front seat, and Jim was driving, but I couldn't imagine on a bus, especially if you have any motion sickness. It would be, I think, a hot, hard trip, but beautiful. I think the fun part of that journey was just even the drive. Like, it was just stunning views.
You're driving along the coast, so you're seeing absolutely beautiful water and the beautiful coastline, so it's definitely worth the drive for sure.
So the final part of our trip was when our Airbnb stay ended, we opted to take a bus from Sarandë and we headed up to Tirana, the capital, and we spent 3 nights there, and we're glad that we did. We were maybe thinking of flying back out of Corfu, but we ended up going up to the north, visiting the capital. Glad that we got to see it. It was also a great experience, and 3 days for us we felt like was plenty. Some people prefer to stay longer, but for us that was enough.
It does have a lot of history there, so that was really cool to see. But I think the biggest surprise for us was how walkable it was. So it's a very walkable city.
More modern than I thought too.
More modern and like really trendy bars, restaurants,
big
city
malls
vibe.
And towers and buildings that they've built that are pretty impressive. Okay, so now we're going to talk about what we would do differently. So this is just our personal opinion, but hey, it's something that we were hoping to do, was to stay somewhere a little bit longer and less moving around. However, on a personal note, we got a little bit on the board side. So if we were to come back to Albania, this is what we would do.
So if we were to go back to Sarandë, or if you're going to Sarandë, we'd recommend a week to 10 days. You're there for the beaches. That's why you go to Sarandë. You're going to have some great restaurants. You're going to have a great beachside promenade.
Nightlife.
Yeah, nightlife.
The castle, the view from the castle, and you can go up and have a nice cocktail. Looked like you got a little bit fun up there as well. That was amazing.
Couple day trips you can take from Sarandë too. So I feel that if we went back, or we were to recommend to anybody what to do, I would say Sarandë, you're there for a week, 10 days max, and you're there for the beach destination.
Yeah, and from there we would also opt in for a week stay at least in Ksamil. Little bit more fun beach time if that's what you're looking for, low-key kind of beach town vibe. We did some day trips and it was fun, but we always felt like the last bus was, I think, at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
We always felt like we just kind of wanted to stay and enjoy the evening atmosphere and stay a little bit longer. So for us personally, we'd probably stay a week.
Yeah, for me it's actually a 3 to 5 day. Ksamil is smaller than Sarandë, so there's even less to do, but you're there strictly for the beaches.
It's about the beaches and the beaches.
Yeah, so lots of snorkeling, lots of boat trips, there's stuff for the kids to do there.
And then Gjirokastr, we were really happy with our time there. We spent 2 nights. A third night probably wouldn't have been too bad, but 2 nights seemed like enough to us. I think we would also change where we would stay in the Himarë or the Dhërmi area. I would probably want, I don't know, if I didn't want to move all the time, I wouldn't mind a week there. That was a beautiful area.
We'd take a week from Sarandë and maybe put it there.
We would also suggest visiting in town of Berat. I feel like 2 or 3 nights would be a good time to spend there, but we didn't quite make it there. We also would have taken some time up in Skool.
I think that would be another area that we regret not seeing. And if we could change our 28 days, we would take at least 5 days or 3 to 5 days to go up to Skool.
Yeah, and I think Tirana for us was the 3 nights, even a 4th night would have been all right. We did enjoy it, but it was long enough for us personally. So the biggest issue that we had was, number one, we locked ourselves into an Airbnb for the 28 days, which meant we couldn't change our plans.
Yeah.
But for us, we just wanted a little bit more to do. The second part that really changed our time in Albania was the inability to just rent a car that wasn't expensive. Now, lots of car rentals, but I think I priced it out once we left Sarandë. It was going to be like $1,600 Canadian for 2 weeks rental. And that's a lot of money to us. And so the option to get around the country was harder than we thought. The buses were all right. They were hot. We had one that we went to Gjirokastr and they had no air conditioning. It was a little bit hectic, and it just made it a little more difficult to get around the country than I think other countries we've been to.
It was more difficult to find information on how to get places and the times.
We found it harder to get from one place to the next. Plus, we also committed ourselves to one place for longer than we maybe should have. So the other good things that we can't say enough positive things about are the passionate Albanians. They are very passionate about their country. They're proud. We met a lot of Albanians that were just, do you like our country? Do you like it? Why did you come here? We're so happy to see you. We enjoyed the Albanian people tremendously. Yeah. We found a lot more passionate, happy people in the smaller communities that we visited, but it was overall a really great experience. The Albanians are very wonderful hosts.
They are.
Very kind people.
So with all that being said, we did have some dislikes about Albania, and this is what we want you to expect if you're going to travel there.
And let's be honest, if we just gave you all the fluff and puff and everything's always wonderful, I don't know, we just want to bring you some honest content, and this is in no way to put down any country in any way. However, there were some cons that we personally felt we had to bring up.
One of the things that we're going to talk about here is the trash, the garbage, the rubbish that seems to be a little bit excessive in some of the areas in Albania.
I think they're working on the problem, and I think that they're trying, but there was a lot of trash.
And that was seen on some of the public beaches as well. A lot of cigarette
butts, and it seemed like it was a bit of an ashtray, so it prevented us from wanting to lay on the Sarandë public beach as much as maybe we would have. We tended to gravitate to the more beach club chairs because they were cleaner. So one of the other dislikes that we had, and as you know, we're passionate about animals, but unfortunately, Albania has a bit of a problem with the stray cats and stray dogs that are around there. There's a lot of them, and you can see people putting out food for them. That was definitely heartbreaking for us, and we hope that maybe in the future that will continue to get better.
Again, we talked about this earlier, the cost of paying for a chair at the beach. And not only that, if you're there for a longer period of time, if you want to go to the beach every day and you're in the middle of summer like we were, well, honestly, it was just unaffordable.
The cheapest beach chairs were around that 20 euros for two, and it went upwards of 100 plus euros per chair, especially in the nicer club. I mean, that would have been 150 Canadian for us without food or drinks, and you really want to stay in that chair all day if you're going to book it. So that was a little bit of a put off for someone that we want to spend maybe 2-3 hours in the sun. After that, we need to get out of it because of, well, we don't want to burn. I guess our fair skin is.
Now, mind you, if you're going on vacation and you're there for a week to 10 days and you just want to crash by the sea,
perfect.
Man, that's a great area. Sarandë, Ksamil, Himarë and Dhërmi.
And a pro tip, if you're only there for maybe a week or so, maybe spend the extra money and get an oceanfront hotel that has the chairs included. You might spend more for the hotel, but you get the chairs included and you could come and go as you wanted to. So that's a thought too. So something to keep in mind if you're there during the hot summer season.
We went to Albania because we heard it was the cheapest place to go in Europe. So that's why we chose it. And when we got there, granted, we're in high season, it wasn't much different in pricing than, say, Greece or Italy. So, you know,
cheaper parts of Italy, let's be honest. But It was definitely more expensive than Asia for us, substantially. But, you know, like anywhere, I think if we went away from the touristy spots, it was definitely more affordable.
Gjirokastr was more affordable for sure.
Our accommodations were a lot more money in the summertime than I think in off season. It's probably less than half or more than half from what we're seeing from other videos that we're watching. And I think that some of the restaurants and the beach destinations, their costs for like an Aperol Spritz or something to eat were like substantially more. An Aperol Spritz was 10 to 15 euros on the beach or more. If you even just wanted to have a beer, it was 6, 7, 8 euros, 10 euros a beer, which was quite a lot more. I know that we were in other parts of Europe and even on the beach, it was substantially less. Getting around of Albania was a little bit more tricky than we anticipated.
The driving and the road rage was a little excessive.
A little next level. All right, so finally we're gonna get to the cost and what it cost us for 31 days in Albania. We'll start with accommodations. So we spent a total of 31 nights. 28 of them were in Sarandë with an Airbnb. We overlapped a few nights here and there. So we also spent 2 nights overlapping in Gjirokastr and 1 night in Dhërmi. And then we carried on to Tirana for the last 3 nights. Our total cost was 24.45 Canadian for the entire 31 days.
So the next section we want to talk about is our transportation, and this includes our car rental, our bike rental, and all of the buses that we have taken while we were traveling throughout the country. So we ended up renting a bike for 3 days and it was €20 per day, and then rented a car for 1 day. That was
kind of expensive for 1 day.
€45.
And then gas, it cost us about 100 Canadian dollars to use for 24 hours. So that was a lot.
All of our transportation costs came out to $316.50 Canadian dollars.
So our next category is food. Now we clustered it all into one. We have groceries, dining out, happy hours, and wine. Now we do enjoy eating out. We found that eating out was a little bit more than dining in at the house, but not so much. By the time we picked up groceries, it was similar to what we would have paid for eating out. So we probably spent a little bit more than normal because that was part of our entertainment.
The event was to go out and experience a restaurant at night. Like I said, Sarandë, you're either going to the beach or you're walking on the promenade or you're going to a restaurant. So at night you go to a restaurant, and that's what everyone did.
So our total cost for food for the entire 31 days was $2,033 Canadian. So that's pretty high for us. We did enjoy it. The food was great and it was a good time.
Next category we're going to talk about are the attractions. So this includes the entrance into Butrint, the Blue Eye entrance, Bunker Art number 2 in Tirana.
Gjirokastr, the castle, and we also went through the war tunnels.
Our total was $79.50 Canadian to do all those attractions.
Yeah. The cost of the attractions we felt were actually really good value. Okay, the next one we have our incidentals now. Jim broke a tooth while we were there. Luckily for us, Albania was really reasonable for the cost of dentistry. So he had an inlay glued back and we both had a teeth cleaning. And what else did we do? We had some small supplies like we needed for the Airbnb that we stayed at. Needed a few things. He had a haircut. So the total cost was 120 Canadian. So not too bad for 31 days.
Our grand total for everything in the high season, a little higher than we wanted to pay, but it came out to $4,995 Canadian.
Now keep in mind, we've been watching other YouTubers, and if you go in off season, like not July and August, their cost of accommodations appear to be about half of what we paid. I think we paid around $2,000 Canadian, but they're spending less than $1,000 Canadian for the entire month that they're staying. But we also got the summer months.
Yeah, but that being said, like the reason you go to Sarandë and the reason you go to Ksamil and Himarë and Dhërmi is because you want to be there during beach season, right? Yeah. If you're there in January, February, there's really not much to do when you're there, and a lot of places close down.
More than we thought we'd spend in Albania for the month, but overall a really good experience.
People always ask us, do you recommend going? And I would say yes. I think for us, we just stayed in one spot for too long. Yeah. We wish we would have planted ourselves throughout the country a little better.
So we hope this video helped you about traveling to Albania. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments below. We'd be happy to hear from you. And we also want to say thank you so much for watching our videos. We appreciate all of you so much. If you like this video, give us a like. That really helps us out in the algorithm. Subscribe if you want to see more. But we are super excited to show you also our next destination and all the things that we get up to in the next few months. But thank you again for watching.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
So let us just do my love and see where this road